Hello and welcome along to a special edition of Edie's Susty Talk, our video interview series designed to keep you all feeling connected to sustainability leaders during lockdown and beyond. Now I say special edition because there are a lot of faces here and it's normally a one-on-one series, and that's because I'm chairing this panel with four representatives of four different B Corps across the UK, and this is to mark B Corp month, which has been March. So as we come to an end of what's been inevitably a really busy month for these purpose-led brands, I thought it'd be good to recap for everyone. So I think it would be good to go around the room and get some introductions, but on my screen, as I can see them, I've got James Bidwell, co-founder and chair at Reset and Springwise. I've got Joanna Dai, founder of Dai Wear. I've got Steve Waters, project manager at Paradigm Norton, an alliteration tongue twister, and Mark Cuddigan, the CEO at Ella's Kitchen. So a very warm welcome to you all this afternoon. And yes, I've done a very brief introduction, but I think it'd be good to go around the panel and hear a little bit about what your brands are, and about when they achieved B Corp certification as well. So I'll go in the order I mentioned. So if I could pass to James first, please.
Thanks, Sarah, and really good to be here debating this very, very important issue and kind of supporting the B Corp movement. I'm James, so I have two businesses, both of which are B Corps actually. Springwise is the largest innovation community in the world, so we're an online publisher of the latest innovations that matter every single day. And that's like a media business that pushes out kind of purposeful innovations to a readership of about 120,000 people each day. And then I also have Reset, which is a strategy consultancy for sustainability and innovation. So we work with the most enlightened CEOs in the country and actually across Europe and sometimes in the world to help them embed sustainability in their business plan. So right at the heart of their businesses, which is nothing new for this audience, but is very new for many people. And then we use innovation as a lever to create the change that is required. Both of those businesses were accredited in September of last year. And like Mark, I was also at the first ever B Corp meeting, which was about 7 years ago in Camden. So I've been a big fan of the B Corp movement. And final top fact is that Chris is the CEO of B Corp, used to be the managing director of Springwise.
Great. Well, it seems like a very tight-knit community then in a lot of ways. And then next on my screen, I have Joanna. So moving swiftly on from innovation and consultancy to fashion.
Great. Really lovely to be here. It's an honor. Thank you for having me. I'm Joanna Dye. I'm the founder and CEO of innovative women's wear brand Dai. Before this, I was at an investment banking firm for 8 years, always loved and knew the power of looking smart to feeling confident, but felt that clothes were not designed to keep up with women trying to break the glass ceiling and work really long hours and travel all the time. So in a nutshell, I was on a flight 8 hours into this investment banking career and felt my waistband was digging in. I was really uncomfortable and wish I were my yoga kit, and had my eureka moment, which was, can this feel like yoga and still look like a power suit? Dai was born in 2017. Shortly after I launched, I read about B Corp, and in 2017 within the fashion industry, it was already abundantly clear that we were detrimental to the environment as a global industry. And so I made it a goal to achieve B Corp in 2 years' time. We started the process in 2019, and we achieved our B Corp certification just last November, so November 2020.
Fantastic, and we'll come back onto that certification journey a bit later, I'm sure. But for now, it would be good to have an introduction from Steve, please.
Hi everyone, great to be part of the conversation with you. So I lead on B Corp at Paradigm Norton. I'm taking on the role of Head of Impact there. Paradigm Norton is a financial planning firm, so we work one-to-one with people, and we really start with talking about what's their life goals. So we do get on to talking about money, but we start with, our strapline is money matters, but life matters more. So we're really trying to understand and help people to think about their life goals, what is it they want, and help them to get there, and then talk about what needs to happen with their money to help them achieve that. And we accredited as a B Corp in September 2019. Again, we took the decision a little earlier to to go on the journey with that. But so we've just come up for 18 months as a B Corp and just published our first impact report talking about what we've been doing in that time.
Fantastic. And last but by no means least, if we could hear from Mark, please.
Hello, so I'm Mark, I'm the CEO of Ella's Kitchen. We are the UK's #1 baby food brand. We have just celebrated our 15th year birthday. We first certified as a B Corporation in 2016, and actually we've recertified today, which is pretty exciting to be talking about B Corp on the day that we've recertified. And I would say without hesitation that certifying as a B Corp has been the best and the most important thing that we've done in 15 years. So it beats all of the other accolades. We've won probably 50 awards. We had double-digit growth for 10 years. So we've been a phenomenally successful company. Certifying as a B Corp means the most to me, without question.
Fantastic. Mark, I've actually got a little factoid here about revenue growth for UK B Corps here. So B Lab reported in 2019 that the average UK B Corp reported annual revenue growth of 14% since 2015. So it's not just yourselves that are feeling that benefit, that is across the board. And as I said, I think it'd be good to come back to this accreditation process. This is what we get probably the most questions about when we talk about B Corps and look into how you actually get there. And as you've mentioned, Mark, once you get there, the journey's not over. You have to redo it again in a few years. So I don't know if anyone would like to go first to speak a little bit more about the either initial accreditation process or the recertification process, and yeah, provide some insight on what that's like behind the scenes.
It's a nightmare. It's you know, both the certification and recertification. It's not easy, but nor should it be easy. But I don't think anybody should enter into it lightly, because it's a difficult process. You know, you have to answer 2 to 230 questions, depending on what sort of business you are, and it's having the answer to those questions and then proving that the answers are correct that's difficult. But the only bit of advice I'd give anyone is dive in. It's a free assessment. Give it a go. If you think you're a great company, prove it, and if you're not a great company, make yourself a great company.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go, Steve, and I've got something to add as well.
Okay, thanks, James. No, I'd agree. I mean, you know, it should be hard because that's part of the meaning of it. This is independent auditing and assessment to really prove a standard that your company has reached, and so it shouldn't be easy. At the same time, it's really worth it. And for companies who are looking at this and considering it, there is a quick version of the assessment that you can do, and that's a really great way in. Just to start the journey and to begin the process. So it doesn't have to take a huge amount of time initially. You can do the quick assessment. Having said that, if you are committing to it, you do need to then really allocate some time and resource to it, get a team together, give someone the lead on it, and start the process of gathering some of the data and information about your policies and everything else that you're then going to need to give your answers to the questions and the assessment.
Mm-hmm. James, I know you have something to add to that, but Steve, in your introduction, you mentioned that actually going through this process and taking on this responsibility, it sounded like it led to a change in even your role and remit and what you're up to day to day. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. So, I mean, I actually wasn't the person that led on our initial certification. That was one of my colleagues, but we took the view as a company when we certified that wasn't the end of the journey. So every B Corp has to recertify every 3 years, as I think Mark mentioned. But we also felt like, we don't want to stop here. We want to go deeper into this. We want to embrace as much as possible as we can of this good practice. And we're really inspired by all the other companies that are part of the B Corp community. There's so much we've got to learn. So we start from a point of saying, hey, yeah, we're a B Corp, but we're definitely not perfect. We've got loads we can do better. And so hence, we're continuing to commit time and resource to that. I've changed role to take a lead on trying to drive that forward. And I've got a team of people around me who are helping me to do that. So we've really committed to an ongoing process of improving our practice in every area of our business.
Mm-hmm. Great. And yeah, sorry to delay you, James. I know you had something to add about the accreditation.
I have to remember what I was going to say now. No, I think, it's similar. It is very tough. it's great that it's tough because, you know, you have to really work at it. I thought it would take 3 months. It took about 15. We're only 20 people, you know, and I had to really push to get it done. It's an exceptionally powerful thing to have done. It unites the team, and, you know, we're united around positive impact. You know, that's what we do. We create positive impact through all of our work, and we're really focused on that. And the B Corp accreditation gives a framework. And the fact that we have to reaccredit, you know, we have to keep going and we have to keep getting better is really important. And one of the things we're finding is we're getting masses of people saying, you know, can you call Chris and get us accelerated in the queue? Can you help us become a B Corp? And we created a product called Path to B Corp that we now help companies figure out how to do it, because we've been through that experience, and we felt that that was kind of a good thing to do, particularly for bigger organizations, because we're quite small. And I guess, Mark, you're the biggest organization around the table, virtual, but it's more difficult at scale. And even in a smaller company, it's hard because we haven't got so much resource. So you have to, you know, really put the commitment behind it. But I agree with what Mark said. It's the most exciting thing we've done, probably the most exciting thing I've done in my business career, and I've done many things. And I know that it is a huge competitive advantage. And, you know, it is the moment for the B Corp.
And Joanna, I understand that you have a small team as well, and that you were super excited to make this announcement last year when we last caught up.
I think it's, yeah, from my perspective as probably the smallest company and the youngest company at this virtual table, it first started with purpose when I launched the business and seeing around me just, one, the pollution that the fashion industry was making, two, my product being already centered around empowering women through comfort and performance, and three, if I got ran over by a bus, I wanted the entire team and the DNA throughout the company to be able to carry forward this purpose that is for a positive impact. So B Corp felt like the perfect framework when I first discovered it when we launched. I think definitely I echo that being earlier stage, it's easier for us to get the B Corp across the line. It's still a lot of work and a long process, but I led the entire process from my side, and all the information is mostly centralized in my brain still, but we knew that, you know, I started really getting the assessment into the verification stage at the height of the lockdown when our business did get impacted and there was a bit of a lull, and that gave us about 4 months for the verification officer to be assigned to us, and then I dedicated 2 weeks of my life just getting every document that they needed on the back of that verification process, and throughout the process and even answering the questions, it was like, we don't tick this box, I want to make sure we tick it by the time we submit for assessment. And so it's just a really great framework that's very comprehensive.
Fantastic. So we've been through accreditation with all of you guys, and lots of great stuff about there about how difficult it is, but ultimately how this really does help embed that purpose, make you think about sustainability in the round, and as you mentioned, Diana, perhaps give it some longevity as well, so it's in the DNA rather than in a silo. But I wanted to come on to any potential caveats. So we've got businesses here from all different sectors, and we've talked about maybe challenges for different sizes, but do you think that B Corp is suitable for everyone, or whether you think there are organisations that are perhaps more suited? I don't know if anyone wanted to throw their hat in the ring on this one.
I have a point of view because we work with a lot of very big companies, and we've just seen the extravaganza with the Danone CEO, who we won't go into the detail about that, but I think it's really tough for big companies to become, you know, big kind of quoted companies. So I think it's much easier if you're owned by a private company like Patagonia, or you're a you know, a more benign owner. I can't remember who owns Ella's Kitchen, sorry Mark, but you know, and I think that's why the Better Business Act is so important, and kind of pushing government to change, you know, change the laws effectively. But business is also governed by investors, and what I'm encouraged by is that the investment community is now getting on the bandwagon of, you know, ESG is shifting from ticking boxes to make everyone feel good to actually being seen as a value creator, and I'm a big fan of that and believe in it profoundly. Is the B Corp framework exactly right for all businesses? Probably not. It's probably better for small to mid-sized businesses, but then that's the challenge back to B Corp. come on, what are you going to do and how are we going to change the world in order that, you know, this framework and this purpose, if you like, and this kind of idea of business as a force for good can, you know, take over the world and can expand geographically as well as across sectors and sizes of businesses. And it's not easy, because it's the biggest challenge that we all face in business, is how do we fix climate change and society and all of those things for the next generation.
I know they are working on like a special multinational framework at the moment, but at the moment I know if you are a multinational, it has to just be done on a brand by brand or market by market. I can see Steve and Joanna nodding, so I don't know if they have anything to add on this one.
I'm happy to jump in. I think for me, the single biggest differentiator of B Corp certification versus others is that legal requirement to change your articles of association to account for the impact of all stakeholders. And that's not just shareholders, but, you know, employees, suppliers, society, environment. And I think that when it's included at the legal level in that such high framework of the entire company, then I think it really enforces at the board level down for everyone to be incorporating it in every single decision that's made.
And surely if you're bigger, then you'll have longer articles of association and just lots more processes and partnerships to unpick, I presume.
Yeah.
I think what Joanna said is right. You know, I'm not aware of anything else that goes that deep in legally committing yourself as a company to weighing people and planet against profit and having all of those in your decision making. And that's the power of it for me, because it really starts to then drive deep change in your business in a direction that you want to go. And hopefully one day actually all companies might be required to go, as you've said, James, with the Better Business Act. And we happen to become employee owned at the same time we became a B Corp, and so the two of those things in combination have been a real transformation in terms of driving some really great, progressive, interesting changes in our business. And you know, I'm aware there are other things out there, but I've not seen anything that really has the rigor of this. You know, this you know, where sometimes in the past the sort of corporate social responsibility angle could face criticism for at times being a bit of a greenwash, perhaps. And I think there's really no danger of that with B Corp because of how deep it goes. So yeah, for me, it carries real weight, and I think the sort of brand recognition of B Corp is only going to grow from here on in as well. It's not yet widely known amongst the public, perhaps, but I think that's growing. Ocado and Waitrose have launched B Corp aisles, so I think it's going to become something that the public are increasingly familiar with.
I did want to come on to this idea of sustainable business and purpose-led business as business as usual, and I know that James and Mark, we've spoke a little bit about the Better Business Act. So for the benefit of people that maybe haven't heard about the Better Business Act, could you tell us a little bit more about what that is and what it would do, and yeah, what stage it's at the moment?
Are you happy to do that, Mark? Because you were on the call. I wasn't. I was on something else.
So the Better Business Act launched today. In essence, it's an ambition to change Section 172 of the Companies Act to ensure that all companies, so every single limited company in the UK, has to take hold of all stakeholders in running their company, and will have to produce an impact report every year on how it's taking account of all stakeholders. So capitalism is a great thing. Well, some people say it's a great thing, and it's very simple. It has one aim and one aim only, and that's maximize shareholder return. You know, I am actually part of a NASDAQ listed multinational company, which shows you can do that and become a B Corp. But, you know, I have one fiduciary duty, and that's maximize shareholder return. When you say that out loud, you think that can't be right. You know, with the challenges we are facing just with the environment, let alone with society, how can that be the case? So the B Corporation movement, very much at its essence, it's about the triple bottom line of people, planet, profit. The Better Business Act, the ambition is to change that for all companies in the UK. So we have this moment in time, I believe, where we can show leadership as a nation. I think consumers are demanding it. We've had this period of reflection, this awful period in the last 12 months. Something great has to come out of something so awful, and we have this moment to do that. And just touching on, you know, the is B Corp the only thing out there? Of course not. There are many other things, right? You could actually behave like a B Corp without certifying as a B Corp. So you could run your business as sustainably as any B Corp. But my challenge to you would be, it's not really about you. It's about the impact that you can have on other people. So if you are not a B Corp, if you're just doing it yourself, that's great, but it's not enough. You know, when you look at net zero, if you become a net zero business, that's brilliant. But how are you going to inspire all of your suppliers and everyone you come into contact with to follow you? Because if we're all not net zero by 2050, it doesn't really matter if you're net zero. If no one else is, it doesn't change the dial. We all need to do this. So for me, B Corporation is that movement where you can inspire everyone you come into contact with.
I mean, just to add, Mark, I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, again, with Reset, we work with massive clients, and we're working with a £10 billion sales fashion business now. And if we can help them shift, the whole industry will shift. So, and we're a tiny little B Corp, you know, in our space, actually, it's fantastic because the McKinseys and Bains and all those guys, they can't be a B Corp because they're up to too much mischief behind the scenes. So, you know, we're very differentiated. It's very hard for a strategy consultancy to, at the top table, to be being a B Corp. And that impact we have by talking about it every day, talking about it to the most powerful and influential CEOs and their teams. And I think your point about customers and staff, it's like Alan Joke talks about, you know, the sustainability agenda as a magnet for talent. And we're finding, I'm getting so much inbound all the time from people, you know, you're a B Corp, it's really clear what your purpose is. I want to be in consultancy. I don't want to work for, you know, EY or Accenture anymore. I want to come and do something because it's positive. And then, you know, the feedback I get from my teams is like, look at all this impact we're having. You know, we are really making change happen with our work every day. And that's as, you know, as important, it's more important than the financial side of things, which of course is important too, but it's absolutely in parity. So, and I think the Better Business Act is part of scaling that and scaling this movement. And I'm pleased that you're positive, because I'm unfortunately slightly cynical about the government's ability to capture this monumental opportunity that we have for the UK in a post-COVID transition economy world to actually be the leader of that. You know, we should be able to do that. So we need the political will as well as the commercial will, and hopefully business and B Corp will put pressure on government to get this to happen, because it is a unique moment in time.
Oh, I'm just as cynical as you, James, don't worry. But I think where business leaders need to lead.
Yeah,
we need to lead. Yeah. We need to be the change that we seek in the world, right? That's the B Corp slogan, and we can't wait for government. We need to lead government. And if enough business leaders stand up and say, we want to make the change, it will happen. But the government aren't going to lead us there. It's just that won't happen. And
the good thing is the best CEOs are now saying, you know, all these conversations we're having with fantastically enlightened CEOs who are saying, yes, I'm going to do it because it's got to be done.
I think, Sarah, just to give my perspective on, is it suitable for all businesses? I think it's suitable for most for-profit businesses, because the assessment is, you know, 200 plus questions. It's so broad. It's a score-based system. If you don't tick one box or get that score, there's so many other areas where you can excel. And through becoming a part of the B Corp community, I've met service-based companies. I've met a whole array of different companies and business models that are B Corp certified. So I think for anyone listening, start the assessment and then you'll know.
I was going to bring that up because you talked, James and Mark, about the need to sort of bring all boats up, and wouldn't it be better to have a fully net zero world or a fully purpose-led world rather than a few islands here or there? But obviously I'd say that one of the other benefits seems to be this community building, this collaboration. I don't know if that's something you've seen or whether you guys have met each other before this call even.
Yeah,
I've met your founder, Mark, a couple of times. But otherwise, it's great to meet all the rest of you guys.
The community is a great asset and resource, and there's an awful lot of goodwill and some really inspiring people, and the sense of businesses pulling in the same direction, which is fantastic to be part of a really dynamic community. I haven't met all of you before, but Mark was kind enough to join our team day last year and speak to our whole company, and we found it really inspiring, particularly Mark, when you talked about the impact that you've managed to have, sort of ripple effect on your supply chains and influencing and encouraging and inspiring other companies to consider B Corp or to do the quick assessment. So I think I really echo what's been said about It's not just about us and our own individual companies, it's about causing these ripple effects and starting to sort of change the wind, change the way the wind's blowing, so that actually some of this stuff just becomes irrepressible and obvious to change and to do in future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think from our side too, as a D2C brand, it's been so sort of empathetic to join the community and discover other brands that are complementary to what we do for our customers. So last month we just launched Dai X Ocean Bottle, another certified B Corp, and they pick up 1,000 plastic bottles from oceans around the world. And that's an easy collaboration, easy conversation to have at a CEO and marketing level, because it's like we understand the process and the alignment on vision and values, and we're looking at partnerships with B Corps going forward, but it makes that conversation so much easier because they're already verified.
Fantastic. And I know that I'm getting a little notification on my Teams like your meeting time, so on and so forth. But I did want to come back to something that Steve mentioned, which was about the consumer awareness piece. And I know you mentioned, Steve, that we're not really sure how aware the public is about B Corps. There are so many surveys that say, oh, we all want to shop from purpose-led brands. We want our shopping baskets to be less harmful to society and the environment, especially after lockdown. There's been a lot in the media about buying local brands and small brands specifically. So I guess my last question would be, what more could be done to engage consumers in 2021 and beyond?
More podcasts.
More podcasts.
I think we're getting there. I mean, when we joined as a B Corporation in 2016, I think there were 2 other B Corps in my world. So in stuff that's sold in supermarkets, I always distill it down to. Now they're approaching 70. And you have, as Steve said, you know, Ocado and Waitrose having online or in-shop aisles just for B Corps. So it's gathering pace. You know, there's probably, well, not probably, there's over 1 company a day certifying in the UK at the moment, which is phenomenal. So it's gathering pace. We will get there, but at the moment there isn't the consumer awareness. But there seems to be a business awareness that is seeping through, and B Corp Month has been terrific. We're getting there. And I just wrote down this slogan, which I love, which sums it up for me really, that certifying as a B Corporation not only is the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do. You know, if you want to make more money, treat your staff the right way, treat the environment the right way, your business will follow.
Yeah, and I think, couldn't agree more with you, Mark. I think the consumer trends generally start in the, where people can afford them. So it's interesting that John Lewis and Waitrose have signed up to the Better Business Act, but Morrison's and Lidl haven't. So, these trends do have to start somewhere. And you remember, Stella McCartney in fashion, and she's, quite high end, and that is seeping through. But it's, I think it is, a revolution that is beginning to hit the tipping point, but it does need us to keep tipping and keep pushing. So it will take time for people to say, that's a bit more expensive, but it's purposeful, so I'm going to buy it. And if you've got hardly any money and you've just been on furlough for 9 months, you're unlikely to be thinking like that. And therefore, it's up to business to, sort out the supply chains and sort out the proposition to the consumers and do it at a reasonable price, for customers to be able to do it, and then obviously start to educate. I mean, there's so many other agenda points that we could discuss, but COVID we've managed to react pretty quickly to, but we were all about to die. The problem with climate change is we're all about to die, but it's not kind of today. It's in 10 years' time, so it's much more difficult for us to kind of have that urgency. But I do believe that a coalescence of investors, smart business leaders, and government hopefully getting on the bandwagon. If they think they can get more re-elected, they probably will. And this kind of conversation, which is happening every day, and the Better Business Act being launched today, is pushing us towards the tipping point. But we have to keep pushing very, very hard. Yeah,
agreed. And James, you've mentioned investors a couple of times, and ESG, so sustainable and ethical investing. I mean, certainly in our profession, we're finding that clients are increasingly interested in talking about that. There's been a real revolution, I think, and strong movement in the last couple of years in terms of people getting more and more interested in the impact that investments can have, either positive or negative. and particularly among millennials and the younger generation that are coming through. My sense is that, yes, many people are willing to spend more money if they can. That's not to say actually that all B Corps is necessarily more expensive than other brands. I don't think that's the case at all. But so people are willing to spend more in some cases, but also increasingly millennials in particular, but many people want to have impact with their money. They want to know where their money's going, whether they're spending it or investing it as well. So we're certainly talking more and more with people about investing. I think there's a lot more that needs to be done in the finance world to get more information, for companies to report more on this. But it's a really good movement. And I mean, quite honestly, we're talking about the Better Business Act a lot today. You know, we should never have got to the point historically where the real huge privilege of having limited liability, of being a limited company, got disconnected from doing a social good in the world. The first corporations in the world were given that privilege because they did something that was socially useful to society. And unfortunately, we lost that connection over time. But this is really the time for that connection to come back, where you know, companies are seen to be doing something useful, and ultimately consumers, clients will value that, and they are asking for that more and more in the way that they make their decisions.
I agree with everyone. I think that we are, as operators and, you know, people pushing the B Corp and sustainable business movement, we feel like it is reaching a tipping point. It's great to hear there's one B Corp certified every day. I think as a D2C business, again, we operate under the assumption that our customers don't know what a B Corp is today. And so we really still try to break it down for them. I think for our customers, it's still 1, does it look good on me? 2, price. And then 3, it's great that you're sustainable and purpose-led, so that's a bonus, but it's not going to be the swaying reasons for why they buy something. Having said that, we've seen an increase in 6 percentage points year on year of sustainability as an importance to our customers as a brand. And I think we can still measure directly on KPIs of any given campaign and response to a social media post, you know, what people are engaging with. It's not typically the more, this is, you know, our purpose, this is the raw material. Those are not as popular as this is a really great image of a woman wearing a suit and you want to be her. But I think the bigger macro picture for fashion and apparel as a sector is that more education is needed. There's quite a lot of greenwashing or just companies making a big campaign out of a tiny little thing that they've shifted internally within their company. And I think with fashion, it's less obvious than perhaps the food industry because you're actually consuming and eating it versus something that you're wearing. It's not as obvious what the benefit is to choose brands that are making better decisions from a raw material, environmental, or people standpoint. So education is a huge piece of it, and also the previous price model that drove a lot of fast fashion, which has created a lot of the pollution. I think it's educating our consumers to invest quality over quantity, purchasing consciously, timeless design, cost per wear. But today we don't see that as the number one reason why someone buys from us.
Great. Well, loads of food for thought there, and thank you so much for your time, but we are out of it. So that's enough. That's all the time we have today, and it's such a fascinating topic. I could be here all afternoon, but I'll let you all get going for today, and thank you so much for taking the time to round off B Corp month with Edie.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Nice to join you.
Bye.
Take care.